Live stream to put real revolution on the map right now. My name is Linsara Taylor. I am the co-host of the Revolution Nothing Less show and a very proud follower, as Rafael is as well, of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Rafael Kadaris, fresh back from the front lines of Chicago and Tennessee, taking on a real concentration of the fascist future that is amassing before us, a horrific nightmare. Rafael, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Linsara, and good to be here with all of you guys, raising big money today to support this revolution.
So our plan today, We're going to tell you a little bit more about what I alluded to in terms of Rafael being back from the front lines. But we're going to talk about the moment that we're in, the very high stakes emergency situation confronting humanity. A time of accelerating motion towards something truly horrific and terrible, a real nightmare beyond that which we have seen under the normal workings of capitalism and imperialism, with the whole fascist movement from the top of society down to the bottom, moving to consolidate a fascist America through the 2024 elections or a civil war or whatever means they want to go for it. And a situation where the rulers of this country as a whole, and this system as a whole, capitalism, imperialism, is hurtling our planet and the people of this planet towards possible extinction through nuclear war, which the Democrats are also escalating the risk of every day with their proxy war in Ukraine against Russia and their threats against China, and the destruction of our planet. So we are, we're in a very dangerous moment for humanity, but it is also a time, and this is something that Bob Avakian, the revolutionary leader and the architect of the new communism, who we will be talking more about and sharing some of his interviews and videos with you as we go. What he has analyzed is a time that also holds the possibility. Not the guarantee, not even the likelihood, but the actual possibility, if we get serious and put this revolution on the map and bring people forward and struggle with them to wrench out of this dangerous situation an actual revolution, the most emancipating revolution that's been made in human history, where we bring down this system, its institutions of government, its constitution, the U.S. Constitution, an exploiter's vision of freedom, and institute the new socialist republic and the constitution for that new socialist republic that Bob Avakian has authored, win an actual revolution. And how we go at doing this is something we're going to bring alive, how we're working on this, we're going to bring alive, and your role in this. Stepping in to be active with the Revcoms, learning more about this, but also giving serious money. We are aiming to raise $10,000 today in this live stream. That is the bare minimum. I mean, just bare minimum of what we have already been spending and need to raise to go forward, including with the recent events in Chicago taking on Jason Aldean and his fascist anthem. But we want to raise that $10,000 today with your donations, with your involvement, and we want to kick off a mass movement of fundraising to fuel this movement and this fight to put revolution on the map. So you want to invite people to donate at anything to this opening? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, yes, we do want people to donate. We are serious about raising $10,000 today as part of, supporting this revolution and this effort to put revolution on the map this year. I do want to start out with a very good statement we just got. This is actually not a direct statement from someone, but someone, an attorney, a new donor, actually just gave $1,200. And what it says here is that we received a donation from an attorney. He has been reading the Constitution for the New Socialist Republic in North America that Sansara was just talking about, written by Bob Avakian. First reading the preamble and then rushing straight to the section on uprooting the oppression of black people. He was struck by how this Constitution spells out the specifics of what we are going to do to actually uproot all oppression. In making the decision to donate to the Revcoms, he struggled over whether his money should go instead to left-wing Democrats. But in the end, he looked at how fast things are moving in the wrong direction, including with the Supreme Court right now. And he felt he could not put all his hopes and funds into that route. So he decided to donate $1,200 to the Revcoms. So that's the first donation towards our $10,000 goal, and we have some more statements which we'll be reading to you soon. But I think it's speaking to the one, first of all, the vision that we actually have in this Constitution for the new Socialist Republic in North America. Thank you, which is a vision of overcoming and abolishing all forms of exploitation and oppression based on class, based on race, based on gender and sex. I mean, who else is even talking about that, let alone has an actual real vision and an actual concrete plan to do this beginning day one after a revolution. But it also speaks to the question, the second part of their statement speaks to the question of, the gravity of the times where we do have, absolute, destruction of the climate. Biden is continuing to drill in the Arctic and pump out fossil fuels and, the danger of real possibility of imperialist war, like you were talking about, and these fascists are on the march. And what are the Democrats doing in the face of this? What is their answer? Their answer is to cling to the norms of the same system which has produced all this horror, which has got oppression of black people and gender oppression built into it. Cling to these same norms while these fascists every day are shredding these norms. And you see this in what the Supreme Court is doing, taking away Roe versus Wade, taking away affirmative action, basic rights for the people. At the same time as, like you said, they're threatening actual violence. They're doing it through the official channels of the system, trying to take over these institutions, but they're also threatening violence. And this is where Jason Aldean's song comes in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to talk about, thank you, Jason Aldean and his fascist anthem in just a moment. But before we want to thank the lawyer, the attorney who gave $1,200. We also want to thank, we have at least two other donors so far, one who gave $25, one who gave $100. Wherever you are tuning in from, take a moment right now, text some friends, send them an email, take and share this video from YouTube on your social media and get this out to others. Tell them to tune in. Tell them that if they are not tuned into the Revcoms right now, not tuned into the revolution, not learning about and helping fuel this revolution in this time of tremendous danger, but also possibility, they are not doing what they need to be doing, okay? They need to learn about this, they need to spread this, and they need to support this. And right now, this is a big step you can take, is to invite 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 people that you know to tune in and join us. All this last period, end of summer, early fall, we've been spreading and putting these documents up on walls, out hand to hand, across this country, everywhere we can reach. We are the Revcoms, which breaks down a lot of what Rafael was just saying about this system being the source of the exploitation, the nightmare for humanity that people all over the world face, the white supremacy, the male supremacy, the climate destruction. This system can't be reformed, but also bringing alive the strategy we have for making a revolution. How we are fighting today to lift people's sights, to see the unreformability of this system, but also to see the possibility of a whole different way the world could be in this new socialist republic that Rafael was talking a little bit about, and that the lawyer was so inspired by, and that Bob Avakian has concretized in this Constitution. And bringing alive how we go to work to fight for this now, and calling people into this struggle. And we've also been spreading this piece, which just came out more recently. We need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system. And this brings alive throughout the piece as a whole, but also in the centerfold in a very big way, a concentrated breakdown of what this new socialist republic will make real, the rights of the people, to go to work to uproot all exploitation, all oppression, and to change the world, to debate, to weigh in, to be part of contesting and determining the direction of the future, to dig up for good millennia of exploitation and oppression and class divisions. And so we've been putting this on the map. We've been fighting to get this out there. And in this moment, amidst this and spreading the Bob Avakian interviews, which we'll talk more about in the second portion of this live stream, we started to notice, among other things, the amassing of the forces fighting for a very dark and ugly future. This song from Jason Aldean, try that in a small town, and really could identify that this was a concentration and a leap for a whole social base fighting for a fascist future and even a civil war. So I thought you did this incredible segment about it on the Revolution Nothing Less show, Rafael. Yeah. Maybe you could set the stage, and then we're going to bring a couple of guests from Chicago who were part of going up against Aldean at his concert in just a moment. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with the comrades in Chicago, but just to say a little bit before we get them on the phone. And we'll show a little footage too. Yeah. We'll show a little footage of what we did in Chicago and in
Tennessee, in a small town in Tennessee. But, you know, for people that don't know, this song by Jason Aldean, a country singer, you know, he came out with this song this summer called "Try That in a Small Town," which was, you know, basically, you know, a straight up white supremacist lynching song. You know, he didn't technically mention race in the song, but he just he talked about basically people should beat down and even murder Black Lives Matter protesters and people that burn the American flag or, you know, disrespect the police in any sort of way. And he came out with a video that was like, I mean, this just went viral all over the internet. It became a sensation and an anthem for these, you know, the MAGA crowd, the Make America Great Again Trump supporters. And, you know, beyond, you know, so there were some people who called it out for being racist, but no one called it out for what it really was, which was, you know, not just another racist country song, but, you know, really an incitement to fascist political violence against all their enemies, against Black people, against, you know, people who don't conform to traditional gender roles, and against, you know, obviously against their political enemies, you know, people who stand up to this system. And, you know, Jason Aldean said, you try that in a small town, burn the American flag or protest, see if you make it down the road. You know, he's got lyrics about, I got my granddad's gun, you know what I'm saying, that I'll use against people like that. So you know, and, you know, some people spoke out against it. Sheryl Crow came out and said, you know, this doesn't represent small town values and American values, which, you know, I just got to say that that's just bullshit, to be honest. You know,
I mean, it's a good sentiment from her to want to take this on, but yeah it's completely inadequate. It's
completely untrue. You know, in fact, this is very much the values that go way deep into the history of this country, from slavery to the lynching. And, you know, in fact, Jason Aldean filmed this song. We're going to be talking about what we did in Tennessee, because he filmed this song in front of a courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, you know, in a small town where a Black person was attacked with a sledgehammer. A young Black man, Henry Cho, was attacked by, you know, a mob of white people with a sledgehammer, and then hung from the second floor of this courthouse in 1927. You know, and this is a town where dozens and dozens of Black men and boys were, you know, disappeared or lynched by white mobs. So this is the history of America. You know, and we had to go out and, you know, it was very important. We did the segment on the show. There was an article on revcom.us, but it had to be actually taken on. And no one had taken it on directly until we went out to his concert in Tinley Park, right outside Chicago. And we took Jason Aldean up on his challenge. He said, try that in a small town. We went to Tinley Park, and not only did we didn't just do it in a small town, we did it right at his concert, you know? So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Okay,
so what we want to do is, yes, we want to thank our recent donors. We're now at $1,410 so far of our $10,000 challenge. I mean, our $10,000 goal for today, which we really want to exceed. So please, if you haven't given yet, go put your donation in the, you know, fill it out, make your donation. There should be information on the screen over all the ways to give: by phone, by PayPal, by Cash App, or by Venmo. Definitely go and make your donation. But we are, you know, we got started and we have some good momentum. We should keep it going. We want to show a little footage of you and Leo and Lapis and others from the Chicago Revolution Club outside Tinley Park in Chicago, burning the flag there. And then we want to follow that up immediately, because after that you took a trip. And that made headlines all over the country. All over the country. There was headlines, there was articles, and the world. And we'll show some of those as well. But then we're going to show the follow-up where you and they went down to that courthouse in Tennessee and delivered a challenge to Aldean. You took him up on his challenge, you burned the flag there, and you put a challenge to him to back up the the lies and disgusting racism and all the rest in his song and come out and defend the flag in a public debate. So we're going to play those. And while those are going, we're going to get Leo and Lapis on the line. We're going to get Chantel in the studio, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what it felt like to be part of this. On Saturday, September 9th, the Revcoms and others marched through the throngs of Aldean's MAGA-infested fan base, right up to his concert, where they did precisely what Aldean insisted must not be done.
I burn this fucking American rag because this country stands for slavery, genocide, and war. The whole history of this country. Jason Aldean said, try that in small town when we did it at his fucking concert. That's right. No more good old boys. This is for civil war. No more good old boys. This is for civil war. You see these faces on these pictures? These are people who've been murdered by these fascist thugs in and out of uniform. This woman here was murdered in California for flying a gay pride flag in front of her shop. This shit can't go on unopposed. We're out here in the name of humanity.
I challenge you, Jason Aldean, to debate me. See if you can defend that blood-soaked flag. I will dissect your lines and demolish your hit song anytime, any place. And one final message for Jason Aldean. You said, try that in a small town. I'm taking you up on your challenge right now. Will you take me up on mine?
No more lynch mobs in and out of uniform. No more standing by while good old boys prepare for civil war. We need and we demand a whole new way to live. We need to and we are getting organized for a real revolution.
All right. Well, that was beautiful. I hear the echo. That was beautiful. Leo, Lapis, Rafael, Chantel was also there. That was so inspiring and so beautiful. It gave so much heart to so many people who just hate what that song concentrates and all that actual history of America and the future that's being threatened that is concentrated in that song. So I want to hand this over to Rafael to ask some questions to the crew that you were out there with, but let you know that we have a chat open on our channel right now. If you have a comment for them, a question for them, or going forward in this live stream, drop it in the chat and we will take up as many of those as we can along the way.
Yeah, so Leo and Lapis, welcome to this live stream. Can you hear me?
You're going to need earphones to
okay.
hear them.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, we can hear you. Happy to be here.
Good. So I wanted to start by saying, that this was a very bold, determined, revolutionary action, both at the concert in Tinley Park, but also at the, down in this small town in Columbia, Tennessee. So, I think this was different from things that you guys have done before. What gave you the courage to do this? Where did your motivation come from?
Well, I'll say that, you look at these murders of these 3 black people in somewhere like Jacksonville, Tennessee, or this woman in California, just for flying a gay pride flag, And here you have Jason Aldean with this song that fuels and concentrates so much of this white supremacist vigilante violence, right? And there's nobody out there, nobody out there calling it out for what it is, and that's what inspired me to, and drove me and fueled me to want to be out there and want to light up those flags for everything that this country represents, from the history, from the beginning of it down to today. White supremacy, it's male supremacy, it's genocide, theft of land, and people have to, see others out there who are calling it out for what it is, that's what inspired me, made me want to, go out there and be on the front lines with revolution, with a whole different way, the world could be, in the face of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate what Leo here is bringing in. I just want to add, like, we're living in like really historic times. It's actually really heavy, right? All what's going on, not just here, but around the world. And I guess for me, it's like, I think BA put it really well in the Bob Avakian interviews. You come to see that not only is this intolerable, it's like, it's so unnecessary. We actually don't have to live this way. But, in order to, change things, you actually have to step up. You actually have to put it on the line. And you actually have to get organized, right? It's not about just like lashing out here and lashing out there, or, as important as it is to like resist these atrocities, you actually need a force, and you actually need leadership. You actually need a strategy to overcome all the hurdles that, we're running into now and more that are to come. So in terms of like, what inspired me, part of it is, just thinking about BA, all that he's done for, fucking decades, and really understanding like, well, we actually do need to get to a different place on the terrain. This was really impactful, really important, and we need to do more of this, but it's not all we need to do, but it is, a big part of what people need to be doing to actually change the terms in society, right? Where people look out there and it's not just like these like lunatic MAGA fascists or these like war criminal Democrats, actually lifting their sights to the future that's possible if you get with this now, and getting involved in all kinds of different ways. So that's what I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Both of you together speaking to, I think part of what you're getting at also is very related to the 3 slogans that we raised when we went out there to this Jason Aldean concert and down to Tennessee, which was, no more lynch mobs in and out of uniform, no more standing by while good old boys prepare for civil war, and we weren't standing by while this was happening, And then the last thing, which both of you guys spoke to, is that we need and we demand a whole new way to live. We are getting organized for an actual revolution. So we were doing this, very much as part of, we can't just let a fucking white supremacist lynch mob civil war anthem go down unopposed. But at the same time, we were straight up calling on people to stand up against this fascism, but doing it as part of fighting to get rid of the system that spawned this fascism. And your point about also introducing people to the leadership that we have for this revolution in Bob Avakian.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. And then I want to bring Chantel in. But yeah. I did notice one of the most beautiful things. I mean, first of all, that flag in flames is a sight to behold, anytime, anywhere. But outside a fascist concert like that is, it's on the next level. But to take it even higher, in the middle of that shot, in the photos that went out around the world, there was somebody holding up that sign that said, "Watch the BA interviews." And this is introducing people to the leadership that they need to get out of this mess, to get out of the madness of everything that flag concentrates, the generation after generation of lynch mob terror, now police terror and killing and mass incarceration, the denial of women to their right to abortion, the actual enslavement of half of society by forced motherhood or the threat of it, the U.S.-backed bombs dropped all over the world, the invasions, the occupations, the coups, the destruction of the planet, all of that. How to get beyond all of that and bring about a world where human beings can relate as full human beings, equally, freely, in a conscious and collective way, struggling, over how to use the resources that humanity produces for the common good, for the benefit of all of humanity, not the profit of a few. This is a whole different way we could be living. And to invite people in, I guess I got carried away talking about it, but to invite people in to meet that leader in the midst of this, to lift their sights, exactly like you said. I don't know if either of you or Chantel, you were also there. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi.
And welcome back to LA. If any of you want to talk about the importance or what it felt like to be also representing and bringing people BA and the future, while you're condemning and standing up against this ugly other future that's amassing.
I did have one thing to say, and even with like what BA's leadership actually means in terms of like, okay, yes, there is a looming danger of civil war, and then this anthem comes out and it's more of a call to arms for that civil war, and these fascists actually do want to wipe out everyone they hate. And then you look at the other side of the divide, the decent people who actually, are, there's a lot of agonizing, but there's also so much potential here, because we saw in Rafael's segment the map of the uprising, the beautiful uprising in 2020, of all these people in even small towns rising up. Yes, white people too. And that, like, look, BA has been struggling for people to recognize, like, this is America. And there's an article he wrote, like, America, truly a model of depraved racist genocide, and that talking about the whole history of this country, what the lynchings actually meant and its horror, in terms of, like, they were white people celebrating, the hanging of, like, young black men, and that, there would be no United States as it is today without slavery. That's in his book Basics. And that at the end of this article, though, America, truly a model, that there's a challenge to people that how could anyone deny that we need a revolution, that look at what's happening today, and that, what we went out there when we were in all the headlines, it wasn't just like, oh, communists hate America. It's like, well, sure. But they actually, like, it put out our full program to people. And, like, even, like, some of my friends in Ohio said they got push notifications talking about the Revcoms burning a flag outside of Jason Aldean's concert. This got in front of, it's not just thousands, like, this got in front of millions of people. Mm-hmm. And it showed that, like, communism actually, like, look, like, we need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system. That got put out there in a different way. What we've been taking out in the streets all across the country, in Texas, in the Bay Area, in LA, Chicago, New York, and other places around the country, that, like, look, like, one, America was never great. And that was in the chants that we were chanting that day, that Lapis was dancing on the American flag and, like, leading. And that, there is a different way the world could be, and that's going to be, and the bridge to get there is through a real revolution. And BA's leadership is, like, crucial in, like, okay, now people here who actually think Black Lives Matter who really don't feel really uncertain about waving the American flag these days, which actually that's a positive thing, because that flag and then seeing it go up in flames really is, you know, it should bring a lot of like, it should uplift people, should inspire people, and it does provoke people to think, okay, all my illusions or all my safe, like held to my chest beliefs about this country being something good, like, you know, people need to cast all that off in order to become part of this revolution and to actually fight to because we're talking about actually overthrowing everything America is and stands for. And, you know, this is like actually a gift in a sense that, you know, that it's put so clear for people to actually understand it.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now what I want to do is, I think those are really important comments, Chantel, and I wanted to read, as people can see, there's a matching donation on, whoops, I just lost my earpiece. There's a matching donation on the screen of $1,000. And I want to read the statement from some people in Boston who were very inspired by this action that we took, and pledged $1,000 and want to see it matched. So we've raised $1,900 so far towards our $10,000 goal, and if we make this match, we'll be at close to $4,000. So let's go, you guys. This is the statement. I had been waiting in tremendous anticipation and some concern for days once I heard that the Revolution Club in Chicago had issued a call to call out that fascist wannabe thug, Jason Aldean, right in front of the concert arena where he was bringing his lynch mob shit show in Tinley Park outside Chicago. As I read and watched the footage of the action outside the concert, watched the bloody red, white, and blue rag torn and burned, listen to the chants and the powerful commentary from Rafael Kadaris and others, I just pounded the table in front of me. Yes, yes, yes. It literally brought tears of joy to my eyes. And when I saw this tremendous action, along with those of the comrade who boldly went into the MAGA mob concert itself to call out Aldean, this was making news internationally, I got an even deeper appreciation of what potential lies in putting revolution on the map in 2023 here in the belly of the beast, and what it will take. It needs to be firmly grasped that in taking this stand, the sisters and brothers who were acting in the interests of literally billions of people around the planet, trapped in and ground up by and discarded by a capitalist-imperialist system that has pushed this planet to the brink of potential extinction on more than one front. As they were calling out this fascist wannabe thug and the whole toxic capitalist imperialist system that spawns the Jason Aldeans of the world, the Revcoms were also challenging all of us to step up and be part of the movement for a revolution, taking our leadership from BA at a rare time in history where there exists the possibility for an actual revolution to get rid of the system and replace it with something fundamentally different and better, a new society based on the Constitution for the new Socialist Republic in North America, with the goal of emancipating all of humanity. What more can we ask for than a shot at this? With all that roiling in my head, I am submitting a $1,000 matching pledge. I wish it could be more, but I hope and anticipate that as more people hear about this action and the potential it reveals for a far better future, this can be matched many times over. So did you want to respond to that real quick, and then we'll go back to Leo and Lapis?
Well, we definitely want to call on you to match that. 10 of you right now giving $100 will meet that. That will bring in $2,000 with the match and get us, as Rafael said, close to 4,000. We need to get to 10,000 today. We are aiming to keep this live stream to an hour and a half. That means we're about half an hour into it. We have about an hour to go. We need to pick up our momentum. Please give, call friends, get them to tune in. I see in the chat, great interviews, so inspiring. You know people. You know people. Every one of you watching, you know at least one person who needs to and would be moved by what we are sharing here today. Call them up, take a moment. We'll still be here when you get back. Get them to tune in, give your donation, and ask them to do the same.
So, Leo and Lapis, you know, how did it, this was not a foregone conclusion that these actions were going to be successful. We were going into very tense situations in Tinley Park. We were surrounded by thousands of, these Jason Aldean fans who were all riled up with this anthem that's telling people to beat down and murder people who burn the American flag. We went to this very small town in Tennessee. What did it feel like to be part of these actions? What was it like down there?
Well, I'll say I want to talk a little bit about Tennessee. I thought it was very important that we were meeting the challenge of Jason Aldean. Call it out for what it is. Not only did we try that, at his concert, then we went right into the heart of where these good old boys are. In Columbia, Tennessee, and right in front of the courthouse where he shot his music video for Try That in a small town, courthouse where some, dozens of black people were hung, in this area, let alone less than 100 years ago, there was Henry Cho, which, Rafael spoke to in his segment on the RNL show, and issued a challenge of our own. And while we were out there, we were met, by some of these good old boys, and you get a very real sense of this fascist, white supremacist danger, in these neighborhoods, in this area, in these small towns, I'm saying, they don't like us because we're revolutionary communists, even, shots at me for, I don't like the way you look at me, and, our kind, they don't like our kind around here, whatever our kind is. And, that was some of the, bold, some of these good old boys, in that confrontation. But then there were also people who, supported. There was somebody who came out of a cafe, and it's like, I support what you guys are doing. Then there was another woman who, as we're being confronted by these good old boys, came out right in the face of all of that and supported and made $100 donation, right there on the spot, and then they're confronting her. Oh, you support them? She's like, yes, I do. And that was really important, for her to actually take that stand, because I can only imagine how much of this she sees, being from that area, in Columbia, Tennessee, and I thought, one, it was very necessary, and it was very important, and very bold, and along with that, because there shouldn't be people who want to be on the sidelines while these fascists and white supremacists are gaining, momentum and foaming at the mouth for civil war. There should be people who don't want to see, that happen and that go on, and actually put an end to it. But actually, it was important that we were out there with the, message of revolution, and a way to actually put an end to all of this, and I thought it was very important that we were out there.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate.
Oh, go ahead, Lapis. I was just going to say, earlier you told me it was very heavy to be out there at that Jason Aldean concert, but also very thrilling. So maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. First, I just want to really appreciate that statement that you read before from Boston. Really, deep appreciation that, this action was able to inspire. It did get out in front of millions, and I want to highlight this whole question of, like, it was really, significant, and not just, like, in the broadest sense in terms of, like, these small towns are, like, divided. It's not like a one-sided thing, there's actually decent people who like put up with this shit. And when confronted with a force that is actually on the ground, putting it on the line, you know, serious about this, you know, we're inspired, like in the moment, like, look, this is what I got. You know, here it is. And yeah, I do support them. And just to go back to the heaviness and the thrill, you know, I just wanna, you know, I wanna direct people just real quick to like this past RNL show. You know, if you really want to get the nitty gritty and like break down like what actually went down and like all the nitty gritty, go back and watch the last episode of the RNL show. It's on every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm not gonna try to go for the other times, but definitely 7 p.m. Central Time. To really get a full sense of what happened and the impact it had and the potential, right? But back to like the heaviness. I mean, look, you mentioned it, Rafael. It wasn't like a guarantee, right? There was actually, you know, a lot of work went into like planning and like getting prepared and really working to seize on this moment. To make sure, you know, being determined to go all the way through, you know, whatever comes, we stick it down. We, you know, got each other's backs and we push through for humanity, you know. You know, at a certain point, you know, we were surrounded by like thousands of these MAGA fascists, right? We were like surrounded by these pigs, you know, in riot gear, pulling up in their trucks, you know, talking about like, oh, you know, if you don't disperse, we're gonna, you know, shoot you with like non-lethal ammunition, and we're gonna, you know, expose you to, you know, this, you know, the toxic tear, you know, the tear gas that these, you know, pigs be using. You know, there was a freaking chopper up at the top, like, while this was going down. You know, towards the end, after the march back, there was a freaking drone up in the air. So it was like really heavy, and even down in like, you know, Tennessee, you know, talk about like being, you know, surrounded. You know, you have the courthouse right there where this young black man was lynched. You know, around the corner you got the police station, right? All around this town square, you know, these shops. You know, I love this Americana nostalgia of like, oh, America was great, that kind of bullshit. And you know, you had people like up in like different corners, like posted up. You know, you had you know, there was a good old boys that did like confront us, you know, calling them up, like, look, get down to the square, you know, like, you know, you at a certain point you had one of these good old boys agitating, like calling out to the crowd, like, y'all really gonna stand this in our town? And so, you know, that's like the heaviness of it. But let me tell you, like, thrill is like, you know, it really was a thrill, because you understand that, like, you know, you do have right on your side. Okay, it's like, it's just that cut and clear. All right. You do have like, you know, this confidence in knowing that what you're fighting for is actually like real, right? Not like that, you know, depending on supernatural forces that don't exist, hoping that things are gonna like, you know, just work out, you know, hoping that these, you know, this other half of the ruling class, you know, brutal oppressors, the Democrats, you know, they have no answer, you know, actually stepping into the void and taking on like these fascists, in the way they needed to be taken on, you know, it's really like an honor. Really, I cannot explain, you know, how honored I was to be on the front lines, to be on the ground, how thrilled, you know, it was to, you know, work through the obstacles, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like a slip and slide, right? It actually was like very hot, you know. There was uncertainty, but we stuck together, and we did what needed to be done. And I just hope that, you know, I just want to reiterate, people do need to get involved, and there's all kinds of different ways. All right, sometimes it means being on the front lines, being on the ground, and if that's you got those abilities. You got to be on the ground. You got to get with the Revcoms. But there's all kinds of ways. We're talking about a real revolution, right? It's not like, it doesn't have to be mystified. It's actually pretty concrete what we're talking about. We're talking about, defeating the violent enforcers of this system, abolishing their constitution and all their institutions, and establishing a new socialist republic on the basis of the constitution that revolutionary leader Avakian has tremendously brought forth. And, a big part of that is donations. Like, just think about it straight up. You actually got to donate. And not just donate, you got to, sustain, right? We are, getting prepared right now to actually, we're preparing the ground, the political situation, preparing the people in their millions, conscious, revolutionary-minded people who break with allegiance to this monstrous empire, right? And want to fight for something really, truly emancipating. So, in whatever ways you can do it, you got to spread the word. You got in it. Yeah, don't limit yourself to just one. Let me tell you. Actually, pick up all. Give your heart for humanity, and fight for a world where all the chains are broken. I'll leave it. I'll leave it there.
Well, I'm glad you said all that because it speaks to what many need to take up your challenge that you just put to them on every level. And I agree with you, not just one level, take up many of them. And for everybody who's been inspired by what you just heard, by the images that captured the headlines all over the world, by you guys standing up to not just Aldean and his song, but what they concentrate is a spear point of a whole nightmare future being brought down on humanity right now. And the possibility, stepping into this fighting, not just to say we won't put up with this, but there's a whole better way the world could be. And it's real, and the potential exists to make that real now, but it requires you stepping in. That, if you were inspired by that, by Lapis, by Leo, by Chantel, by Rafael, donate. That means you are stepping in there with them, with all of us, stepping out on the front lines. It is the only way this can go forward. It costs money to send them down to Tennessee. It costs money to send Rafael and Chantel out there. It costs money to put out the promotion, following up. It costs money to follow that up and make good. All these people turn their heads to this. They need to learn about this revolution. We need to spread the interviews from Avakian. We'll talk about that in a minute more fully. We need to spread the new piece, Allegiance, that challenges people to break their allegiance with this system and take up allegiance to a new socialist republic and an emancipating way we could be living. We need to spread this revolution now. And the show, which Lapis, you brought out so well, the Revolution Nothing Less show. The website, revcom.us. We need to support these, sustain the ability to put these out and spread them. Millions who are being shaken right now need to find these resources to understand the madness that's happening and to know what they need to do about it. So in that spirit, we want to say a huge thank you to the donations that just came in to meet the $1,000 matching donation. I think people were very inspired listening to you guys. That's right. We made it. That brought us over up to $4,000 or so. And then several more donations came in while you were speaking, Lapis and Leo. We are now at $4,526 of the $10,000 we need to make today. So we have momentum. We're on our way, but we need to get there. And so thanks to everybody who's given, and a challenge to everybody who hasn't yet, to really dig down and give generously and to sustain. To sign up to sustain as well, a regular monthly donation to the show as a Patreon, the patreon.com/the-Revcoms to be a monthly sustainer, to the work of the Revcoms. And in this light, we have one more really beautiful contribution. Rafael, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, a member of the Revolution Club in Chicago who was part of these actions actually was inspired for this live stream to do a painting depicting Leo's flag burning right in front of the concert in Tinley Park. So do you guys have that we can show the...
It's on the screen.
Oh, it's on the screen right now. All right. So this is the painting. Oh, and they have it in person
they have
too.
it held up there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So this is a beautiful painting featuring, this iconic moment, making it larger than life in art. So the statement from the artist, and I'll read this in a second, but this painting we're, auctioning off, selling for this live stream at $500. So the first person that donates $500 we will send them this painting from Chicago. So the statement is, the action of burning the American flag outside the Jason Aldean concert is an inspiring, crucial step in leading people to not accept the soul-crushing and suffocating terms that the fascists in and out of office have been and are determined to keep people who are not who they deem legitimate, locked down and locked out and worse. The Democrats have no answer other than to tell people that their only hope is to vote. And the Democrats, while not fascist, they just want to hold on to the norms. Norms that keep the destruction of the planet going. Norms that keep wars for empire, that destroy the lives of the majority of the planet going, even to the brink of nuclear catastrophe. Norms that keep people with no option but to flee their homeland going. No one should want to accept these terms any longer. Repolarization is needed. People need revolution, and people need to get with this revolution with the whole world in mind, as Bob Avakian has often pointed out. The Revcoms are doing just that. The Revcoms were doing just that at the Jason Aldean concert. This action deserves to be memorialized in an artistic and poetic revolutionary spirit. So that's a very, important and statement from the artist and Revolution Club member who did that. So who's gonna donate $500 to get this beautiful work of art? And I also wanted to say people should think about the spirit of that woman in Columbia, Tennessee, who saw this action and came out of her work and just gave us, $100 out of her pocket, right on the spot, spontaneously. So, and she's someone who deals with these good old boys, and they were harassing, as soon as she gave it, they were harassing her. She's right up in the face, right up in the teeth of these fascists every single day. What will you donate, to see, not only see this fascism opposed with but to see it finally ended, a country that, is full of fascists, this shining city on a hill that's full of fascists, 74 million people, what's it going to take to finally put an end to this long legacy from slavery to the lynch mobs to the police terror and the MAGA fascists of today, to finally see that put an end to? It's going to take revolution, nothing less, and to put an end to all the horrors that the system perpetrates. So think about that woman and make a donation to this revolution today.
And think about what it would mean to reach the millions and millions like her across this country who need to know about this revolution. So to close out this section, I really want to thank you all for going there, for stepping out and doing what you did, and for coming on this live stream. We'll do a quick one last round with each of you, Leo, Lapis, Chantel, and then we'll end with you, Rafael. If you want to, from the heart, call on people to donate. I know you knew we were doing fundraising. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was really inspired by that woman who came out. Like, she had heard some of the back and forth from the good old boys there, and went to her office and grabbed all the cash that she possibly could, and came back out and donated it right there on the spot. And I want to call on others who were inspired by, the flag burning outside of the concert, and, seeing the Revcoms out there in a big way, and donate to, not just to that, but what difference it can make, to see a revolutionary force out there, and step in along the way. And her donation was $100. You might not be able to donate $100 or $500 for this beautiful once in a lifetime painting, but maybe you can donate $10. Maybe you have friends, reach out to 10 friends, to donate $10, and that's 100. You know, matching her donation of standing up in front of these, you know, white supremacists, you know, male supremacists, good old boys, you know, in this small town, you know, and match her donation. You know, if you can only donate 5, then reach out to 20 people. You know, this revolution needs to be spread as far as it possibly can be. You know, get out to all the millions who, you know, might have seen this in the news, you know, in the past week. You know, get out to the millions needed to actually make this revolution possible, and donate. You know, not just yourself, but call on others to donate and to spread the word.
Yeah, I really appreciate Leo here is bringing forward. I also want to extend some appreciation, you know, real like you know, heartfelt, like for real. That woman, you know, real big shout out to her, and I want to give a real important appreciation to, you know, everyone else who was part of this action. You know, it was, you know, led by the Revcoms, and you know, we united broadly, you know, with people who didn't want, you know, this lynch mob anthem to go unopposed, you know, and we did it for revolution. So special shout out to everyone who came out and was part of this action. And look, we are serious about revolution, and being serious means asking for money, straight up. All right, we need hella funds, all right, to actually get to where we need to be and where we can be. All right. I know you got, you know, friends. I know you got family. I know you got, like, you know, people all around your life. Hell, maybe you have exes that you're like cool with, you know, like reach out to everyone that you know to really help put this on the map. This is a collective effort. This is all of us together. We have to make this happen. And you gotta ask for money. Do not be ashamed to ask for money, all right? You got these forces out here consciously asking people, draining them, all right, like fucking leeches for money just so they can stay in power, right? Mm-hmm. So they can keep this horrendous society going, right? Not just here, but all across the world. So do not be ashamed, all right, to ask people for money, because you'll come to find that, you know, when you do ask people for money, they do be taking you seriously in a whole nother way, because people may not know the full extent of what revolution means, but they understand that if you're gonna do something about the actual reality and transform it, you need money. That's just like how it is, you know. So from the bottom, just like whatever you can get, give it. Sign up. Patreon.com /the Revcoms, I believe it is. Spread the word and give all that you can, so we can actually get beyond this madness. I'll stop there.
Chantel, she's got to get the mic.
Yeah. No, that was fire, Lapis, as you say. And, you know, like, I know, like, the amount of money people throw at, like, these dead-end programs at, like, you know, that really are fooling the people. And then to think, like, if the revolution had millions of dollars, what could be possible? And those of you who are supporting and have been donating, like, it's time to kick up the game. And like the example of the woman in Columbia, Tennessee is that, like, look, there's people out there, we have to go get them. And, you know, in donating helps get this YouTube show out in a different way. Donating helps us print posters, which we've been seeing, especially these provocations around the Bob Avakian interviews are catching people's attention. Like, these people are out there and they need to know about this revolution, and donating is how they can be a part of it right away. And, you know, take this out to the farmers markets that you go to and show a picture of the headlines and bring our core documents out there with you, you know, and reach out to the website about getting them if you don't have them. The other way. And, yeah, this is one of the provocations. And so, yeah, I guess I just want to say that there's You know, there's a ton of ways to be involved, just like that artist who made that painting. Like, what are your fundraising ideas too? You know, like we have the revolutionary change jars. Come invite your friends over to watch the RNL Nothing Less Revolution Nothing Less show and have them bring all their change, you know, with them. And, you know, reach out to be a part of putting this revolution on the map wherever you are. This is a nationwide movement. We're not just going to make a revolution in like one part of the country. We got to be knit together and we got to be growing. And off the heels of this action, you know, actually, like, who are those people? You know, like, I'm sure a lot of people saw these headlines, but they need to come across revolution again to actually then maybe get into it. They're like, oh, I remember seeing those Revcoms. You know, didn't they burn the flag at a Jason Aldean concert? Okay, like, now they need to look into like this revolution, the content of it, and the leadership we have for it. And so that money, that donating, and you yourself creating these networks of people who are sustaining this revolution is how we're gonna, you know, harvest, you know, off this and propel us in a whole nother place.
All right, I really appreciate those comments, Chantel, and I want to thank Leo and Lapis for joining us from the Revolution Club in Chicago and being frontline fighters for a revolution to end all forms of oppression. So thank you for being part of this live stream and for your comments.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great having you guys, all three of you. Go ahead.
Okay, so and. You know, I thought Chantel's last comments were really important too about, you know, we just went out and had a huge impact in society. You know, we got in the New York Post, the LA Times, Fox News, you know, and some of this
Daily Mail,
yeah,
2 major pieces.
And some of this news coverage, you know, it talked about Bob Avakian, it talked about the Constitution for the New Socialist Republic, it talked about the Revcoms means revolutionary communists, right? So we just impacted in a big way, and now there's a big challenge, you know, and we're putting this challenge to you guys to let's turn that notoriety. Let's make, you know, all the people that are like, who are those people that burned those American flags, that did such a bold action, that were so inspired of it? You know, there's a big challenge to come support this revolution. We just got out there in a big way, and it got us a lot of love and support in different ways, and we need to turn that into, you know, actual real connections and people getting into this revolution and supporting it financially. But we also, you know, we got a lot of hate too. You know, our social media is being, you know, flooded with a whole bunch of, you know, threats. There's people threatening the Revolution Club in Chicago, the organizing center, threatening Bob Avakian, threatening the people that carried out these actions. So how are we going to meet that? We're going to meet that with more revolution. We're going to meet that with more people, you know, having the backs of these revolutionaries, more people stepping up to become revolutionaries and to become Revcoms themselves. And that's all of you guys. In Butte, Montana, I see you out there. You know, this reached nationwide and even reached worldwide. You guys got to step into this revolution right now. You know, and then this needs to be part of carrying forward. You know, we got to go out there and continue to even more forcefully bring out what this revolution is all about. Who's the leadership for this revolution? You want to know about what the Revcoms are all about? You got to watch these Bob Avakian interviews on our YouTube channel. You know, this is dealing with the biggest questions facing humanity. You know, why does all this oppression go on and on? What's it going to take to end it once and for all? You know, but it's also dealing with questions most people haven't even thought about. You know, like, how would you deal with you know, how do you deal in a new socialist society with the fact that, you know, it's actually in the interest of people to go all the way to a classless communist society, but lots of people don't see it that way at any given time. So how do you keep things moving towards that, but also allow people the room to have, you know, dissent and express their opinions openly and all this stuff, and to create art and culture and stuff and have that flourish in a new socialist society? This is the furthest thing from your stereotype of communism and a communist leader that you're, you know, indoctrinated with. And you meet someone, Bob Avakian, who's, you know, is just really going to blow your mind in terms of not just like that he's hardcore for revolution, which is that's the heart of it. But he's also, this is someone that's got heart, that's got soul, that's got, a beautiful poetic spirit, that he brings in these interviews, and a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. So, Samsara, you did these interviews. What was it like to do these interviews?
Yeah, so we want to take a little bit of time, exactly like you said. I want to answer your question, but to paint a picture of how we are stepping out all fall. Mm-hmm. And not just doubling down, but expanding. And what these funds are going towards is taking this revolution and spreading it to the millions who don't know about it yet. And there is, to your point, to your question, there is no better introduction to this revolution. There's nothing that people need to know more than to meet Bob Avakian, who, look, he is, without question, hands down, the most important political thinker and leader alive in the world today, and the most important that's ever existed in the history of this country. There's never been a leader like this. And Bob Avakian, we had the great opportunity to do these interviews with him on this show last fall. He's a longtime revolutionary. He became a revolutionary in the 1960s, like so many of his generation. He had the somewhat unique experience in that context, or quite unique, of working very closely with the leaders of the Black Panther Party in their early and most revolutionary days. That had a formative impact on him. But through these interviews, you get a sense of both what shaped him, his friendships, growing up, the different influences culturally on his life, politically, and the impact of actually becoming a revolutionary, working with the Black Panther Party, coming to see, starting with, in particular, what this country has done to Black people, but then coming to see what this country is doing and has done to people all over the world, and how that changed him and took him from somebody who exactly, we have his memoir here, who exactly like his memoir title says, from Ike to Mao, Ike being, I like Ike Eisenhower, the president, to Mao Zedong, and beyond, to become somebody who's actually forged a whole new synthesis of communism, a whole new framework of human emancipation. And he takes you through his own personal journey on that, and he invites you in to understand the world in a different way. That so much of what seems permanent, so much of what seems unchanging and unchangeable, so much of what people don't even think to question, it's just the way it is, it's always been this way, the permanence of it starts to break down, because he gets to why it's this way, how it came to be this way. It wasn't always this way. Some of what's changed to bring it to the situation we're in, and also how it could be changed further through us acting on it. And Bob Avakian is, there's something when I sat with him to do the interviews, and I think this is the experience of many people when they watch them, there's something about listening to him speak about these questions of what's happening in the world, the moment we're in, the dangers we face, personal influences, where you're at one and the same time going, oh my God, that makes so much sense, I totally agree. And going, oh my God, that's totally not how I was thinking, and it's taken me to a new place. And because he's bringing you inside of how he sees the world, and you're getting to see it through his eyes, where you're seeing things that you maybe have taken for granted in a big way, in a different light. And I think, but it makes sense, so it resonates. And I think just one more level on this, what it was like to sit with him and do these interviews, is you're really sitting with somebody who has given his heart, Lapis spoke about this, who has given his heart to the people over decades, who has put himself to really working on the problems that humanity is facing, to why masses of people are so ground down, why so many lack hope, why so many are turned against each other and do things that are destructive to others, but also degrading to themselves. But it's not them. And what is it about their conditions that have set them to think this way and propelled them to act in these ways? But also, BA struggles very hard with people. And when you listen to him, that he knows that you can change, and that it's not your fault if you've been caught up in the ways this system makes you think, and that actually people who have been treated as less than human can rise to become emancipators of humanity and strategic and scientific thinkers, not just fighters, although that's incredibly important, but strategic and scientific thinkers. And there is a special connection. And I know Bob Avakian feels he brought that alive in the interviews, but I think also that those who are caught on the bottom of society and catch the worst hell feel when they watch this leader, when they watch Bob Avakian, a special connection that he gets them and he gets their potential. And that's why he fights so hard with them. And he speaks as well to people from other strata and in a very broad-minded way. And so I just think, I mean, you sit down with anybody who's the greatest in their field, and it's an extraordinary experience. And you sit down with somebody who's the greatest in their field, and their field is the emancipation of all of humanity. It's unparalleled. It's unparalleled to anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think your point about this is someone who really deeply understands and believes that people can change and the world can change, you know? And it's so much, you know, you just look around at how fucked up the world is and how fucked up people are. And if you're just looking at it on the surface, you know, it's very easy to just, you know, not see that, you know, and not see how things could be radically different and people can be radically different. And BA is someone who knows both from his personal experience, you know, come through the seeing himself and others transform radically through the 1960s, and, you know, but also through a scientific understanding of how this capitalist system is not some permanent system, and you know, it's just the way things are organized now. But, you know, things have been organized, societies have been organized differently before, and we can actually move beyond that. And he understands that very deeply, and so exactly because of that, he struggles so sharply with people, not berating people, not, you know, telling people they're dumb and like irredeemable, but like struggling with people to actually wake up and get what's really going on and what time it is and where their real interests lie. And he taps into people's, you know, higher aspirations, you know, but he also sometimes, you know, pokes at people and some of their misconceptions. So I thought on that note, unless you wanted to add anything, I thought we could play this
let's go to the
trailer
from
from
we're going to play a short trailer, and then we'll come back with a little bit of the longer piece from the interviews.
You know, I stay in my own lane. You know, you think if there's a nuclear war, it won't touch your lane? I mean, come on, let's get serious around here. You know, you think if U.S. and China go to war, your lane is going to be somehow, you know, I'm just going along in my lane. I mean, people need to wake up and get serious. This is a contest between oppressors, the world's leading oppressors, with the U.S. #1. Yes. USA #1 oppressor and plunderer in the entire world for decades.
Okay, so that was just a tiny trailer. We actually, one of the things we did off of the funds we raised in a previous fund drive was to place that as an ad on YouTube and get it before tens of thousands of people who saw it. And thousands of them came and watched a portion of the interview off of that. This is the kind of thing we need to do a lot more of. People need to see, and in a moment we're going to show a longer, just still a short, but a little bit longer segment from the interviews to give you a fuller sense of some of what you get in them. But these interviews need to be seen. They need to be seen by millions. And they are, as you said, when you started this section, Bob Avakian is speaking to, and Andy Z, who's the main host of the Revolution Nothing Less show, who conducted these interviews with me, we thought a lot about what are the things that are on people's minds. What are the kinds of questions they would want to know from Bob Avakian? What would they want to hear him speak about his life, to get to know him as a person? But also things that a lot of people struggle with. Is revolution really possible? You're too small. People are too fucked up. People have a lot of revenge, actually. I mean, not surprisingly, that's a revenge-filled society. And the need to get people to break with that and think about ending oppression, not just flipping it and being the ones to be able to fuck somebody else over for once, but putting an end to all conditions where one section of society dominates and oppresses others. There's a lot of questions we thought about that people have on their minds. But then there's a lot of stuff that Bob Avakian speaks about that, as you said, has nothing to do with what people are thinking right now. And the problem is not that he is talking about things they're not thinking about. The problem is people are not thinking about change. They're not thinking about emancipation. They're thinking about getting over on each other. They're thinking about the narrow things that this system has confined and conditioned them to think about. And the best of them in this time of great change and upheaval, many of them are trying to figure out how to get things to go back to a normal that was never any good. So right now, especially, these interviews need to be put out in society and seen by millions and can change what people are thinking about, how they see what's possible, how they see what it means to live a life with meaning, and what that could be put for, something greater than oneself and me, but actually emancipating all of humanity. Bob Avakian needs to become known and a point of engagement and struggle. And so a big part of what we're asking you to donate to today and to join with us this fall is we've stepped out there. We put revolution on the walls in a beginning way. We need to do much more. We've stepped out there with you and others taking on Jason Aldean. We need much more of that. We've stepped out there in other ways, but people need to know what this is for, and they need to know that we have leadership who can navigate what is anybody who thinks seriously for 1 second about revolution anywhere, but especially here in the most powerful and mighty empire, ruthless, murderous system that has ever existed in the history of humanity. Anybody who thinks for a second is going to say, oh, you can't do that without leadership. And we have that leadership. We have unparalleled scientific strategic leadership in Bob Avakian. And even beyond that, this is something people aren't thinking about, but we've been talking about it and need to keep talking about it. Where's the Constitution? What would you do if you brought this system down? How could we replace it with something better? Bob Avakian brings that alive in these interviews, and he brings it alive in his body of work, and he wrote the Constitution. And people need to have their sights lifted and know that there's a leader and there's a movement following this leader that actually knows the way out and is fighting with all we've got, and they need to join with it. So what we want to do is thank everybody who's donated so far. We're at $5,774. That means we're over halfway to our goal. Significantly over halfway to our goal, but our goal is really modest. I'm just going to be real. Our goal is very modest. And I do notice people must have responded, and we appreciate it, to our call to tell your friends to tune in. The number of viewers has gone up. So I know there's some people who have tuned in recently. We have a $10,000 goal for this hour. Actually, we have about 20 minutes left. We're trying to do in this live stream. We need to raise at least our $10,000 goal. We need to get way beyond it in real life. So if we meet this goal, we should try to exceed this goal. And if we don't today, we should really, and even if we do, we need to unleash a much bigger movement of fundraising to spread this revolution and fund this revolution. And actually, every time somebody gives, and every time you ask somebody to give, you are strengthening and spreading the networks of support for this revolution as well. So we need to get to that goal. We want to thank you. Hey, somebody just gave $100 while I was saying that. Thank you. We need to get to our $10,000 goal today. With that in mind, we want to return to and play a little bit longer portion of the interviews. This is from the first interview, and the 3 interviews have an arc. The first one, we spent quite a bit of time, all of them do, but we spend quite a bit of time asking Bob Avakian about his life and his development as a revolutionary. And this comes after he talks about having transformed his own allegiance from being very enthralled with the U.S., the flag, what it means to be born in this greatest country and democracy and all this, to losing that allegiance and fighting against what this country stands for. And then I ask him a follow-up question, which you'll hear. One other follow-up question I want to ask is the kind of questioning and transformation that you're describing, I think was going on among a lot of people at that time. And it is so radically different than the culture right now, which is just suffocating with like reverence for the U.S. military and its role in the world. And thank you for your service at the ball games, in the basketball, in the airports, in the culture very broadly. And you have stressed that this is something that really needs to be sharply taken on. Why do you think that's so important?
Because you're never going to bring about any kind of fundamental change. And certainly you're not going to bring about a revolution. When people are still pledging their allegiance in whatever way to this whole imperialist system, you know, and the dominant imperialists in the world, namely the U.S., which wreaks tremendous havoc on people all over the world, causing tremendous suffering, as well as being the major destroyer of the environment. And unless people break with that, no kind of really positive change, and certainly not any fundamental revolutionary change, can possibly take place, you know. And with all this, you know, all this bullshit of, you know, thank you for your service, it reflects the fact that, you know, most people, you know, one thing that we talked about Vietnam, one thing that the ruling class of this country summed up after Vietnam was their army was coming apart at the seams. It was no longer a reliable fighting force by the end of the Vietnam War in the early 70s. And, you know, I myself, you know, on the Berkeley campus and more generally, had a lot of exchanges both with veterans who'd been in Vietnam and also with soldiers who were on leave, who were either like on their way to Vietnam or coming back from Vietnam, because I usually did a year in Vietnam, as I recall. And, you know, they were turning against the war in greater and greater, and partly, you know, because of the struggle we waged with them, but also mainly because of the larger thing going on. Both what was happening in the war and what they were seeing and what they were being forced to do, the atrocities they were being forced to commit, and also the massive opposition to it around the world, but also of great significance in the U.S. itself. And so, you know, at that time, the ruling class summed up, well, you know, this was an army where we drafted a lot of people. And they had a lot of people in the army who really didn't want to be there in the first place, and who really identified increasingly with the people who were opposing the war. I mean, one of the, just to take the point, moment here, one of the big things, bullshit things that really angers me is all these ruling class figures who say, oh, you know, all these students and everybody else on the college campuses and these elite campuses, all these kids who opposed to Vietnam, they were all just a bunch of spoiled brats. They didn't have to go to Vietnam because they got a student deferment. And, you know, then all the working class and poor kids had to go and fight in Vietnam. The fact is that the strongest opposition to the Vietnam War was among the poor people, among black people, among Latinos. That's where the strongest opposition was. And even the anti-war movement that I was part of, you know, while there were a lot of very large numbers of white middle-class kids and other middle-class kids involved, we were also influenced by people like Stokely Carmichael, you know, and others who were calling out the war as imperialist. So it is just absolute garbage that it was, you know, only these privileged brats who, you know, who opposed the war. But to get back to the point more directly, the ruling class summed up, this is not a good army for us where we draft people, most of whom come from among the ranks of the oppressed, however they thought of it. But objectively, they came from the ranks of the oppressed. And, you know, we were forcing them to fight in these wars. So they went over to an all-volunteer army. So now the compulsion for people to join is, you know, economic. It's not a draft where you go to jail if you don't answer the call to be in the military. And so, you know, you got a tiny percentage of the population that's in the military, and everybody else doesn't have to go, especially the better off people. And so a lot of this is what we call the parasitism of American imperialism, where you're basically feasting off the people of the world. You're at the high point of the end of the food chain, living off of the women in Bangladesh who are slaving away in garment factories, while, by the way, their country is being engulfed by water because of climate change. You know, or the children in the Congo who are mining the minerals that go into cell phones and computers and what have you. You know, we're living, in this country, you're living off of that. No matter what part of the society you're in. Yes, the spoils of this, to put it that way, are very unevenly distributed. but there's still a fact that everybody is getting some of those spoils. And so, you know, the way I look at it is a thank you for your services. Thank you, you're doing this so I don't have to do it and I can live off this parasitism that you're out there slaughtering people to make possible.
Okay, so that's just a little bit more of the interviews. Again, that is Bob Avakian, the revolutionary leader, the architect of the new communism, and somebody who is right now actively leading the fight for the Revcoms and growing numbers of others who are woken up to the situation that we face and to the possibility of revolution, to act decisively and urgently to wrench a revolutionary future out of what is right now a major crisis throughout society that is accelerating towards something truly disastrous for humanity. But it's the same conditions that are leading to this, the same fight at the top of society among the rulers, the same divide all the way down, the same fact that these rulers will not be able to resolve this crisis on the terms and within the norms of this country that have held this country together for generations, that have conditioned people, even people who hate a lot of the oppression, conditioned them to accept this country and its system as legitimate. Those norms are being ripped up. Women lost the right to abortion. There is no guarantee of peaceful transfer of power between the Republicans and the Democrats. One side is preparing for civil war, as we've been talking about. In the midst of this crisis, which is going towards a nightmare, we could wrench a revolution. We could wrench the most emancipating future for humanity, but only if we act to put this on the map and to fight for people to get with it now. And this is why we're raising money. This is why Rafael went to Chicago. This is why Leo and Lapis and Chantel and others went in the face of the MAGA fans of Jason Aldean and burned the flag. And this is why we are calling on you to donate to spread these interviews even more decisively. People need to know the way out. They need to know the leader we have in Bob Avakian. And whether they meet this leader depends on your donations now to spread this, and depends on you going out and spreading this. We need, first of all, if you haven't, you got to watch the interviews. But then gather your friends, gather your family, take others. We need a movement of house parties, of watchings, on the street corners, in the laundromats, in people's homes, in church basements, and on the big screens, watching these interviews, talking about them, discussing them. And if people aren't interested, first of all, if people haven't seen these interviews, I want to say straight up, if you haven't watched the Bob Avakian interviews, you really don't know what's happening in this country. You don't know what you need to know in this country, in this world. You don't know what you need to know about why a revolution is necessary and possible. And if you refuse to watch these interviews, if you say, I'm not interested, that's not for me, you are full of shit. Honestly, how could you not be interested in somebody who has brought forward a way to get humanity out of this nightmare? How could you not want to hear from somebody who has given their life, their heart, their scientific faculties, and done the work to solve the problems for how a revolution could be wrenched from the most powerful empire that has ever existed, that has caused more death and misery and unnecessary destruction, and is right now threatening humanity's very existence? If you're not interested in that, then you are actually full of shit, and you need to be told so and struggled with. And we need to find the people who have a beating heart and who have some conscience and tell them, overcome your prejudices about communism, about, oh, I don't need to hear from an old white guy. The idiocy of wokedom that has got you really dumb and not thinking the way you need to think. You need to engage these interviews. And we need to struggle with people to engage these interviews. And so we have these provocations. It's part of the movement of spreading these. This one here says, what? You don't know the most important political thinker and revolutionary leader in the world today? And these need to get up on the walls, on campuses, in the neighborhoods.
With the QR code.
And then they scan. And we have seen a lot of people scan. These posters get up. People are curious. We can count the scans. It has an impact. They go right to the interviews. And then there you are hearing Bob Avakian. And it's different than your expectations. It's different than your prejudice. And if you have any decency and you approach it with an honest, open mind, you are changed by watching these interviews. This needs to get out. We have other provocations that we just printed and put on our website, revcom.us. Why is it dangerous to lead a revolution if you don't have a poetic spirit? Think about seeing that on the walls. Think about what that will provoke in people. How about this one? Taking care of me? What about humanity? Or this one, democracy. That's just another form of dictatorship. And then the one I already read, what, you don't know the most important political thinker and revolutionary leader in the world today? These, and we need many more, we need a movement of these need to get out. And you need to be part of putting them on the walls, bringing them to campuses, to high schools, bringing them to gatherings, cultural gatherings, to the theater, to other places. Spread these interviews and fight for them. Fight for them, okay? Just like you would for the cure of a mass disease and epidemic. For a lot of people who have superstitions and don't want to hear it, you got to fight for these interviews. They actually represent and give people a way out of this nightmare. And we need to overcome people's prejudices and bring people into a movement of watching and spreading them. And we need you to donate. Really, we need you to step up and donate. We have about $4,000, a little more than $4,000 to raise today. And somebody brought it up before, but I want to echo it. People right now are pouring thousands and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars collectively and more into funding dead-end bourgeois Democrat, bourgeois electoral bullshit. Candidates, campaigns, ballot initiatives to plug this hole, plug that hole, and a Niagara Falls of horrors that will never be plugged because the system at the root of it is the problem. We are talking about a revolution to overthrow that system and put in a new economy, a new culture, new sets of laws, new ways that people could relate. To overcome thousands, millennia of oppression, of women being treated like animals, possessions and property of men, of one nation and people dominating and plundering and exploiting and dehumanizing another, and now of the very planet itself being threatened, the future of human civilization by nuclear war and climate destruction. We are talking about ending that, okay? Not trying to tweak it, not a dead end of electing another politician who is going to make honeyed promises that will go nowhere. People need to stop giving their money to that bullshit. And you need to be part of stopping them and give it to this revolution. Get it on the map. Get it known. Get this leader known. I want to echo the way we began with this statement this donation, a first-time donation from an attorney who really weighed. I might want to give this to progressive Democrats, but I kind of know the problem's bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And gave it to the Revcoms instead. There are millions of people like this attorney that we need to go to, people who can give $1,000, $5,000, and many, many people who can give $10, $5, who can go to their neighbors with a change jar and ask them to do the same and raise $100. This movement is only going to be funded. This revolution will only be funded by the people who want to see humanity free. And that is you, and that is the people that you go out and fight to bring into this. So I know we just got another $100. I want to thank you, but we need to get, not but to that person, but to all of us. We need to get minimum to 10,000 today. We have 4,000 more to raise. And now is the time to give. I want to give Rafael a chance to thank some of the other donors.
Yeah. So we got a number of, smaller donations. We got a donation of $100 towards my plane ticket to, they said, as soon as I saw the action, I wanted to donate towards Rafael's plane ticket to Chicago to be part of all this. So much thanks for that. And then a $5 donation, someone said, burn the rag. That was their comment. Appreciate that. $25 donation, very much, their statement was very much in line with what you're talking about, Sansara. They said, the challenge that the Revcoms issued at the fascist Jason Aldean's show outside of Chicago recently was unprecedented and much needed, and more actions like this is valuable and goes a huge way towards putting revolution on the map in a big way. It shows people that there is a third pole of revolutionary forces with a real program which presents a much different future from that of fascists like Trump and Jason Aldean, or that of the capitalist-imperialists like Biden who want to continue ruling in the same old way. Both are outmoded, and we can work to end the system which has no future for the planet and humanity. And I just think that's so important because, we are going into we are already in extremely tumultuous times. There's, as Leo was talking about earlier on the live stream, these fascists are murdering people in Jacksonville, 3 black people. They murdered a woman in a small town like Arrowhead, California, because she put up a gay pride flag. They're stripping away abortion rights. They're taking away affirmative action. The climate of this was one of the hottest summers on record, maybe going back over 100,000 years. You know, real danger of escalation in this war in Ukraine and between the U.S. and Russia, between the U.S. and China. We are really in unprecedented times, but things are going to intensify even from here. You know, these fascists are serious about, seizing power in 2024. They tried a coup in 2020, and they are dead set on taking power in 2024, either through quote unquote legitimate means, voter intimidation, voter suppression, or just because there's a lot of fucking fascists in this country who like Trump, and, Biden is not a very inspiring alternative to that, or if that doesn't work, through violence, or through the fact that these fascists control the Supreme Court. So, okay, that's coming up 2024. Next year is the, conventions and the Midwest, and over the summer, Democrat convention, Republican convention. Things are going to get very intense. Trump is facing serious charges. These fascists have, like Carrie Lake and these armed MAGA fascists are threatening civil war if Trump is charged and convicted. They've already said that the next election is illegitimate if Trump loses, because all these charges against Trump constitute election interference. So what difference it makes this year going into 2024 if we put revolution on the map, if we can reach people with this leader, this revolutionary message, the Constitution for the new socialist republic, so people know that the only alternatives are not, fascist Republicans, bourgeois imperialist Democrats, but there's a whole different way we could organize society and live. And, Jason Aldean's concert, the cheapest tickets were $70. People are pouring their money into this fascism. People are pouring their money into these Democrat imperialists and reformists trying to hold off the tide of capitalism, imperialism, and its destruction, and these fascist hordes beating at the doors. No. You want to do something that matters. You want to do something with your money that matters. Donate to this revolution. Donate to putting, to getting to the source, the root cause. These fucking fascists like Jason Aldean, they didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of the whole ugly history of this country, and what is it going to take to stop that and all the other atrocities that this country and this system perpetrates? It's going to take nothing less than revolution. So, I really appreciate all these donations, big and small, and I want to remind people also that there's still this beautiful painting of this iconic moment from Tinley Park, Chicago, where Leo from the Chicago Revolution Club burned the American flag. If we can put that, it's on the screen. This was painted by a member of the Chicago Revolution Club. It's $500. The first person that donates $500 and requests this painting, the Chicago Revcoms will send this to you. So this is still it's still available. And this actually is, we shouldn't underestimate this. This was not just some, this was a cool action. We burned the flag in Tinley Park. This is an historic moment. This was a major turning point in the year 2023, where the Revcoms, for the first time in a big way, and put revolution on the map.
It's a big part of what we need to see a lot more of in many, many ways. And we did get a comment, a number of them, but one that I saw from somebody in Los Angeles who apparently they saw this burning of the flag at the Aldean concert on social media, and they responded on their own social media and said, "These people plastered my entire neighborhood with their posters, and now I see them burning the flag." This person was a little bit of a hater. Maybe they were a lot of a hater, but they were really begrudged by this. And at first, let's be real, those who are going to spew hate and snark and cynicism are going to be a little bit bolder right now. That's a reflection of the ugly culture and the ugly times we're in. But why are they lashing out? Why are they bugged by this? Because they don't want it to get out there, because they have a sense it can connect, and it's true. And there are millions who are agonizing, and they're not the ones who are loud right now. And they need to become much more loud, but they're not going to be if they don't have a sense of what's possible. If they don't have a sense of what's scientifically possible. If they don't know the source of the problem, the system of capitalism, imperialism, and the solution, an actual revolution, and why that revolution is more possible now if we get with this leadership, Bob Avakian, and the strategy and the roadmap he's brought forward, and if we go fight for it. And they won't know it if we don't go fight for it, and they won't know it if we don't raise the funds for it. We are still under $6,000. We have over 100 people watching. My understanding is that some places this is group watchings. And so I want to ask people to dig into your pockets, reach into your, maybe you use your phone, maybe you use your credit card, maybe you're on the computer, maybe you need to use the telephone, but make your donation. You can use Venmo, you can use the Cash App, you can use PayPal, you can call the number 323-671, what is it? 9839. 9839. It's on your screen. Call up, and whatever your donation level is, and it would matter a lot if somebody is out there watching right now and you have it within your capacity to give the whole $4,000 we need, then you should. If you have that in your capacity, there's nothing more important to give it to. But it also matters for those of you who have $5 you could scrape together. You have $8 you could scrape together. You have $12. Maybe you have $75. The $70 it would cost to go to the Aldean concert. We need a lot of people giving money. It matters. It matters to raise the funds, and it matters to raise the donors. The community of people funding this. This needs to expand. And when you donate, you're part of a community of people who say, I give a fuck about something bigger than myself. Mm-hmm. When you donate, you say, I'm with those Revcoms stepping out there. I'm with Bob Avakian, pointing the way to the future that we could be living in and going up against the bullshit. I'm with there challenging people and provoking them and struggling with them. So we have somebody here who says, great, the Revcoms at a climate march in New York. Wow, right on, red salute. See, the Revcoms are fighting to spread this, but the Revcoms, and we are going to do this. As we say in this, we are the Revcoms. And we say in this, I'm going to read this because it's very important. We are the Revcoms for all the reasons spoken to here, and it talks about what's in this proclamation. We are seriously working for, and we will settle for nothing less than this real revolution. We will settle for nothing less than that. And we are calling on you to become part of this emancipating revolution. That's true. Bob Avakian's not going to settle for anything less, and we are not going to settle for anything less, but you need to step into this. Whatever level you're involved, you need to raise that level with your funds and also with your participation. But right now, we need to come on, people, we need to get over the $6,000 mark. Mm-hmm. That's like $6. We've been hanging out here way too long. That's unacceptable. I know that some of you gave already. We love you. We appreciate you. But if you haven't given yet, you need to make that right. You need to do it now. We need to get to our $10,000. You can't sit back and say we're really glad that Bob Avakian is taking on all the bullshit in people's heads and that he's never given up. But I'm just going to sit on the donation I have. Mm-hmm. You can't be like, wow, I'm so glad Leo and Lapis and Chantel and Rafael and others were taking on Jason Aldean. They can't do that without the funds behind them. This is not this can't be a small operation. This cannot continue to be this way. This needs to become a massive movement. So the funds are urgently required. We have one more thing we want to dive into. You want to make a comment before we do?
Well, there's a few donations that came in. Someone from Hawaii who said, I love the beautiful, bold action. Such a breath of fresh air in the stultifying atmosphere of electoral politics and culture of self-absorption. Go Revcoms. Someone from New York wrote, I'm heartened by your courage and the Revcom leadership. And there's something there's something I just wanted to highlight here about what difference it makes in a situation where most people, in a system that compels most people to just go for self. It's this dog eat dog fucking system, and most people, in the face of the escalating horrors and atrocities and chaos of the system, are retreating more and more into self-care, safe spaces, comfort zones, self-indulgence, distractions. And here are these Revcoms going right up in the teeth of Jason Aldean and these fascists, putting something on the line, not just for themselves, but for the emancipation, taking a risk for oneself, to oneself, frankly, a real serious risk, but for the emancipation of humanity, because it's fucking unnecessary. All the shit that people are going through, around the world, in Libya, Morocco, go down the list, Jacksonville, Florida. It's unnecessary. It's because we live in there's natural disasters happening. This is a summer of natural disasters, but those natural disasters and how much damage they do are shaped by what kind of system you live in. We could reorganize society and have a whole different economy and a whole different political system that puts the needs of people first, not the profit of a handful of fucking capitalist exploiters. So let's actually put this revolution on the map this year. Did we just get $1,000 donation? It looks like we did.
We did.
$6,954. Thank you. And I also wanted to announce we got a $200 donation from someone who is also going to become a $50 Patreon sustainer.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is so important. That, by the way, these Patreon sustainers, this is extremely important. I mean, the one-time donations are very important. We want to get over the hump of $10,000 today if we can. But these Patreon sustainers, that lets us know we we can make plans to do things going forward, because we have like a base, of people that we can count on and rely on each month. It comes out of your credit card each month. And it's also a way to be, in an organized relationship with the Revcoms. You're not just one time contributing, but each month, and you're watching the show and you're getting more into it as you're sustaining.
We're actually stepping up what we are doing interactively with our Patreons. It's it's patreon.com/the Revcoms to become a regular sustainer of the Revolution Nothing Less show. And we do special Zooms. Sometimes we release segments that are going to be on the show early for our Patreons. You see them before everybody else. And some things, like I did a segment on the Barbie movie. The Barbie bullshit, the Barbie brainwash a few weeks ago. And then we get a lot of comments, and I did a response to those, which we released only to our Patreons. We recorded it, we filmed it for our episode. It didn't fit. We had too much good stuff, so we shared it with our Patreons. There's going to be more and more like this for Patreon special perks, I put in quotes. But really, it's a way of being part of the revolutionary community. So that's a really important thing in addition to today's fund drive. We are, I think you touched people, and I'm glad you did. We are now at $7,304, which means we have about $2,700 left to raise to meet our goal for the day. I know we can do this together. It's not that far to go. If you haven't given yet, don't wait any longer. Put something into this movement. Give generously. Give some money to something that matters. And what I want to do now is move to our final thing that we really want to highlight. Look, I hope it's come through, and we want to drive it home, that we are serious about seizing on this time of profound crisis and profound demoralization, where the fascists have tremendous initiative, and they have a lot of arrogance. They are puffed up, they're full of ignorance, and they're armed to the teeth. And the decent people are way too much either caught up in chasing after the Democrats, who are big-time gangsters and imperialist gangsters and war criminals. and who are, Biden, fund the police, drill, drill, drill. I mean, who are pursuing the same program of capitalism, imperialism, and trying to stabilize the same oppressive, unreformable system. So decent people are caught up in chasing after them and trying to get things to go back to normal, which is never going to happen because the fascists will not let it happen. And it was never any good anyhow. In this moment where people are caught up with that, we have to challenge them to get with this revolution. We need to break this out of the margins. And we need to go to those at the bottom of society, those who catch the hardest hell, those who are treated as animals, who are hunted down by the law enforcement of this country, who are warehoused in prisons, who are insulted and degraded. And bring them into this revolution, who are way too much themselves caught up in demoralization and parroting back on a small scale the gangsterism of this system, going for me, money, and patriarchy, as Bob Avakian got into recently in his piece, State of Emergency, way too caught up in religion and believing in things that don't exist and living on their knees, accepting this nightmare and hoping for some better reward in the afterlife, which is not real. We need to shake them out of that and bring them into the ranks of the revolution. And nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to challenge them and inspire them and struggle with them the way that Bob Avakian does in these interviews. They need to get out all over the ghettos and barrios across this country, up on the walls. They need to be shown. We are taking this everywhere. This can change people. So we need funds to take this, and we need you to be part of this. We're going to step up with this revolution. You're going to see these proclamations on the walls, even more at the campuses and high schools. You need to be part of spreading this. We are going to do this at tens of thousands of dollars to print these posters. We need to get them all over the place. So we're getting closer to our goal. Please give now. And we want to show one other way that we're stepping out right now that is putting it's like putting a finger or a mallet on one of the sharpest contradictions in this society right now, which is this question of allegiance. Whether your allegiance in this time when society is being pulled apart is going to be to double down and follow behind blindly this society, this system, its flags, its symbols, and all the ugliness that's part of, or lift your sights to a whole different way we could be living. And so we have this new piece that's coming out on Revcom called Allegiance. And it's a beautiful, stunning poster. It needs to be up everywhere. And we just filmed it, special dispatch on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. And we want to play it for you so you hear it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the vision of what we're doing with this as part of pushing out and seizing new ground for the revolution this fall.
Allegiance. Allegiance. No to this republic of the so-called United States of America with its blood-soaked red, white, and blue rag, and the system for which it stands, the economic and political system of capitalism-imperialism.
A republic whose national anthem was written by a slave owner. Oh, say, can you see all the slavery? A republic deeply divided under the rule of oppressors, with liberty and justice denied. A republic founded on slavery and genocidal robbery, keeping millions of black people in chains for generations, killing off huge numbers of Native Americans and stealing their land, waging a war that ripped off half of Mexico, greatly expanding slavery.
A system that from the start and down to today has been grounded in heartless exploitation, using and abusing masses of people to create wealth for the few, with violent white supremacy, male supremacy, and gender oppression built into and enforced by this system, plundering people in all parts of the world, destroying the environment, and waging unjust war after war, even to the point of threatening the very existence of humanity, killing off hope for a decent future or any future at all.
Yes, to a radically different republic and much better system. A new socialist republic. A system which will move to abolish and uproot all this madness and give the highest expression to people's humanity and a future corresponding to people's highest aspirations.
To people everywhere, in every part of society, the cause we should be dedicated to and the allegiance we should hold is represented not by the U.S. Constitution, a document written by and serving the interests of slave-owning and capitalist exploiters from the founding of this country down to today, a document that elevates property and the right to enslave and exploit above and against the life and liberty of billions of people here and throughout the world. A document that for nearly 100 years institutionalized owning Black people as property. A document that has been repeatedly used and is used today to legalize inequality, injustice, and oppression, with whole groups of people treated as second class and less than fully human. We can do much better than this.
The cause we need to be dedicated to is revolution. To abolish and uproot this system we are now forced to live under and bring into being a new system based on the Constitution for the new socialist republic in North America, which provides a sweeping vision, a firm foundation, and concrete blueprint for a radically different and emancipating society and world, with the abolition of all inequality, oppression, and exploitation.
We are the Revcoms, revolutionary communists.
Working every day for the revolution that is urgently needed to bring down this system of capitalism-imperialism and bring into being a fundamentally different and far better system. Working to spread this revolution everywhere. Organizing thousands and then millions into the ranks of this revolution so that there is a real chance to win.
To people everywhere.
In every part of society.
Join us as revolutionary emancipators of humanity.
Not murderous enforcers or mindless accomplices of the injustice, degradation,
and devastation of this system of capitalism-imperialism.
And its terrible consequences for humanity.
A challenge. If anyone wants to claim that what we have said here is not right, then let them have the courage to put that on the line, directly up against us and the knowledge we are bringing. And it will become even more clear that what we say is the truth, a powerful truth that people need to know about and take up.
That was such a allegiance, such a powerful statement and sharp statement. I just wanted to reiterate what it says here, right? This is speaking to all of you watching. It says, to people everywhere, in every part of society, join us as revolutionary emancipators of humanity, not murderous enforcers or mindless accomplices of the injustice, degradation, and devastation of the system of capitalism-imperialism and its terrible consequences for humanity. And I just think it's so timely that this statement is coming out. You know, where is your allegiance going to be? Is it going to be on this fucking republic and this, exploiter's constitution? Or is it going to be on the new socialist republic? And are you going to be fighting to emancipate humanity, from every form of oppression? Or are you going to be fighting, or are you going to be a foot soldier for this fucking system, which is what they want to recruit the young people to, and this is a moment, and I'd like to get your thinking on this, Sansara, but this is a moment when, the norms, quote unquote norms, democratic norms of this society, which have governed for, over 150 years, in some ways going back to the founding of this country, the peaceful transfer of power, between Democrats and Republicans, the certain democratic rights which have been around for decades and decades. These norms are coming unraveled. They're being battered by these fascists. They're being battered by the workings of this system, and it is forcing in various ways. It's forcing people to question, like, what kind of country is this? What kind of system is this? Just a few years ago in the 2020 uprising, millions and millions of people flooded into the streets saying, wanting an end to racist police terror, and this forced to the surface, a lot about the reality of this country, and its history and reality of racism, institutional racism, not just a few bad cops, but institutional racism, which has been poured into the fabric ever since those founding slave owners, wrote into the Constitution that black people were 3/5 of a human being, all the way up to the present, and the way that the police get away with murder after murder after murder, and then they call it justifiable homicide. So this reality has come to the surface. A lot of the camouflage is being ripped off this system. Millions of people are, patriotism is at an all-time low. A lot of young people in particular are questioning capitalism in different ways. They don't know that there's an alternative. They don't know about the leadership that we have for this revolution. So what difference could it make in this moment, for this statement? This is a time when, we could actually fight to transfer the allegiance of millions and millions and millions of people, the same way that Bob Avakian was talking about in the 1960s. A whole generation of people, black people, but also white youth, came to hate America and everything that the system represents, broke with it, even within the U.S. military. It's, things started to unravel. A lot of, soldiers didn't want to, even in Vietnam and the Vietnam War, were starting to disobey orders. Think about what difference it can make in this moment, if people's allegiance was not with this system and its murderous armed enforcers, its Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, if people's allegiance was with this revolution.
Yeah, I think any time in the history of the United States, it would be right to challenge the allegiance to this country, its flag, the Constitution for which it stands, blah, 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 blah. Anytime it would be right to do that. Anytime it would be right to say your allegiance should be with a real revolution in a new socialist republic that reorganizes society, the economy, unleashes people's creative capacity to be part of determining the direction of society, fighting out how to uproot all exploitation and oppression. That would be right anytime, anywhere, anytime, okay? But this is not any time. And this gets to the point that you were making, and the question you were getting at is that we are in a rare time. We are in a very rare time when what has been one of the most stable, because it is the most plundering of the world and the most fattened because of that, with the biggest military, the biggest economy, the biggest superpower that's ever existed, and has as a population that has been accustomed to stability for many, 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 many generations, so many so that they don't even think to question. Don't have to think for real about many things that go on around the world, how the food gets on their plate, maybe how it gets from the grocery store to their plate, but not how it gets in the grocery store, not where the resources come from in our cell phones. Just live their lives. This stability is breaking down, and the norms are breaking down. They're being ripped apart, and it's happening rapidly. It's happening because of the crisis brought about by the system itself, the contradictions it's brought to the fore, the way it's plundered the world, the way it's driven so many people from their homelands through the climate destruction and wars, so that there's an influx of immigrants and refugees on a scale that cannot be absorbed within the imperialist citadels, this one or Western Europe and so many other countries. It's the way that the economy has changed, brought women into the workforce and because of also the struggle of women, and broken down the traditional family. And that is stretched and challenged a lot about this country's fabric, and it's being snapped back with these fascists and their forced motherhood program and their violent genocidal attacks on LGBTQ people. A lot of the rights that people won, that they were promised, that, oh, the great thing about this country is it was always had its imperfections, but it's getting more perfect. And that's the lie of that is being exposed. That's what you're saying. The camouflage is being ripped off. We're in a moment where all of this is shaking people. And in a moment like this, the transfer of allegiance of millions is possible. Millions, not just tens or even thousands, but millions and millions in this country. Of course, it starts with hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands. But this challenge that we just played, the audio reading of allegiance and the poster of it, and the actual challenge to debate that's in it, that we mean, needs to get out and it needs to be seen. And we should not underestimate right now how much this could tear up people's thinking and force them to confront things and embolden those who hate what this country is about and haven't had the words to put to it, but also haven't had any idea that something better is possible. We need to take this out everywhere, and especially at the high schools. Mm-hmm. Especially to the high schools of the oppressed, where the youth are preyed upon because they don't have a future. They don't have a future under this system, and so they're told that your only future is, or one of your only options is to go into the military, and they're recruited into ROTC and brainwashed with the patriotism and set against people who are just as oppressed, probably more oppressed than them around the world, to enforce this system that has put them in a shithole to begin with. We need to go to them and challenge them with this and work on that contradiction. Look, a big contradiction of this system is that its armed forces, through which it enforces all this horror on people here and around the world, are made up of huge numbers from among the most oppressed. That's why the military split apart in Vietnam, because there was a lot of black people, a lot of poor white people, a lot of thinking white people, a lot of people who started to question, what the hell are we doing over here in Vietnam? You know, oppressing and terrorizing people, when look what the U.S. is doing to our people back home. That was a big part of what woke Bob Avakian up. He talks about it in the interviews. He said, you know, he was kind of not sure about the Vietnam War as a young white student in this country, progressive, but unaware of what this country does around the world. And then he saw the attack on the civil rights marchers at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And he said, what the fuck? They can't be fighting for liberation over there when they're doing this here. But think about the fact that the U.S. military is made up of people. Huge numbers of people from among the oppressed. We have to go to work on that contradiction. It's split apart to a significant degree in Vietnam back then. That kind of dynamic could be going on in this period when the fascists are out there and the military and the armed forces are called in different ways. I think about even here in Los Angeles. You know, after this woman was assassinated for hanging the pride flag, Lori Carlton, and then there was fascists who marched on the school board here in Los Angeles, in part against LGBTQ rights. And some Revcoms were counter-protesting. And what did the police do? They came in and attacked the counter-protesters, those standing for trans rights and LGBTQ rights, and basically defended the fascists. Well, that should make a lot of people question not just the fascists, but what are these armed forces enforcing? So this question of pushing on the allegiance of the youth and all the way into the military, into society more broadly, this is a very strategic thing if you're thinking about an actual revolution. Yeah. Which is meeting and defeating their armed forces, dismantling this system. When that all-out crisis breaks out, you need people who have lost their allegiance to that and won their allegiance to a revolutionary socialist republic that they're fighting to bring into being.
Yeah. And I was just thinking when you were talking about the example of the 60s and a whole generation losing their allegiance and, you know, fraying apart of the U.S. military at that time. Well, they had a draft at that time, which was one of the factors, that made it really hit home for people. But and we don't have that today, but, people shouldn't also underestimate the possibility of a new draft, given the fact that the U.S. is really in, escalating conflict with Russia, with China. It's right now the U.S. is using the Ukrainians as cannon fodder for their proxy war against Russia, but it's very possible that a direct war could break out, in which case, who do you think is going to be the cannon fodder for the U.S. imperialists, around the world? It's going to be, it's going to be the people, in the military, but the people that they're recruiting right now. These recruiters are out, like in every, in poor rural areas, but also in poor urban areas. I just wanted to say, one of the things that was inspiring to me about the action at Tinley Park right outside Chicago at the Jason Aldean concert is that we had a number of young people, including some of them, I will say, who are part of ROTC programs in Chicago. This is, people may not know, people know Chicago's, quote unquote, one of the murder capitals, where there's this horrific, violence amongst the people, young people caught up in gang violence, turning their guns on each other. You know what I'm saying? But it's also one of the ROTC capitals, Reserve Army Training Corps or whatever, where they, it's a pipeline, from these, they got a pipeline of these young people from, these schools into the graves. They're killing each other, from these schools into the prisons, and from these schools into their military, where they get the opportunity to go around the world and go fight and die for this system and go kill other people just like them halfway around the world. Mm-hmm. No, we need, we need to, we need to challenge these young people, challenge these youth. Why the fuck are you doing what they want you to do? Fighting each other, killing and dying over some fucking corner that you don't own, or going into their military and becoming, like the statement says, an accomplice for this murderous system. When you could be actually a fighter for the emancipation of all of humanity. You want to fight for something, you have a heart to fight for something, fight to take on these fascists, fight to take on this system, this whole system that's, been oppressing black people and other people of color and women and our immigrant brothers and sisters and people all over the world. Fight to put an end to that system and then be part of, building a whole new system on the ashes of that.
Fight to get your hands on the science and the leadership you need to take that fight all the way forward, so that you don't have to be what they claim you are, which is just a cannon fodder, just a body to be beaten down or to participate in beating down others. Get with this revolution, and this allegiance is a pivot, to pivot people away from that bullshit, to work on what they know is not right, to struggle with them, to let go of the things that are still tethering them to it, and to pivot them towards this emancipating revolution, and to fight for these youth and for people broadly, to get with the leadership of Bob Avakian, to get with the leadership we need so that you can rise to being more than they claim you're capable of, which is to be an emancipator of humanity, to be part of putting in its grave the worst empire that's ever existed and bring about a future that is fit for humanity, and to apply the science and get trained in that science. I want to pause. We're getting a note. We want to say thank you to, we have just over $1,000 to raise. We're over time and we're under our goal, so we need to change that. We want you to help us meet the $1,000. We just got $5. Thank you. We need to get to the whole 1,000. We need I was going to try to do the math of breaking down different differentials of that. Give me a moment. I'll come back to it. But we need more $5 donors. We need more $10 donors. We need $100 donors. We need to get to our $10,000 goal as fast as we can. And then we need to all take this and get out in the world with it. We want to thank an Illinois ER doctor who is a first-time donor for the $50 donation they gave. We really want to send you our love. Yes, everybody in studio here is clapping. We want to send you our love. It means so much. We want to thank the $200 gift from the Revolution Club in the Bay Area, a group who is gathered and watching together. I think that's a collective donation. It means a tremendous amount. Let's have the applause again. See? And we have about $1,000 left to meet our goal. And
a $75 donation from someone who said, watching the American flag, that symbol of oppression, go up in flames was so inspiring.
And I just want to say with that, that on this point of allegiance, this piece, which is a very powerful piece, the audio of it, the video reading of it, the poster of it, it's not the only thing we're stepping out with. We're taking out the interviews with Bob Avakian. We're taking out, we need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system, the proclamation about the future that we're fighting for. We're taking out, we are the Revcoms with the whole strategy for how we make revolution. And I promise you, there is more coming. We're taking out the Revolution Nothing Less show. We're taking out the Revcom.us website, which has new articles from BA almost every week. It's amazing. Powerful, penetrating new articles. We're taking all this out. Plus, we're going out to lead people to stand up against the fascist assault on their lives and their rights by the people in and out of uniform, the system's assault on people's rights and their lives. And to do this as part of building up the strength to make a revolution, we are putting it on the line. But this allegiance piece, the one further thing I wanted to say about it in this context is that just like the flag burning outside the Aldean concert, it captured national and international attention. This is because things are so fraught right now. This is because we are in a time that's causing people to question, that's challenging what has been the norms of the system, that's ripping them apart. And one of the pieces that Bob Avakian put out recently, a few weeks ago, that we have featured on Revcom.us, talks about turning points. And this is relevant to everything that we are doing right now. He talks about there are times when things go on and the system is oppressive, people live with horrors, but it's more or less, a slow change or no fundamental change for long periods of time. Yes, there's always change. Things are never static, but they more or less go on as they were for long periods of time, sometimes decades, sometimes stretching on. And then there are times when the contradictions of the system come to a head and they actually get wrenched in one way or the other, and where decades get concentrated in months and even weeks. And this is, historically been the case. When there have been revolutions, positive emancipating revolutions, they've come at these critical junctures. And we in this country, the most decisive thing to understand is we are living in one of those junctures right now. And it's obvious on the surface how it's accelerating towards a nightmare. If you are willing to open your eyes and look, it is not as obvious how out of these same contradictions we could move things in a radically different direction and rapidly. But we could. And that's what we saw in a glimpse of it with the Aldean intervention, that it actually was not just incremental. We leapt onto the national and the international stage to a degree. We need to do much more of that. But allegiance can have a magnified impact, this piece, in a moment like this, and especially if we get it out to the youth. And especially if we succeed, which we're calling on all of you to be part of helping us do, in provoking reactionaries and ROTC recruiters, and kids in ROTC, and liberals who say, yeah, we don't like some things, but the system is fundamentally good. Debate us. Debate us on what we have to say about this system. And as it says at the end of this, I want to read the challenge, because we mean this. And this will open up thinking. And people who want to debate us at the beginning, some of them are going to be won over by the time it's over because of the truth of what we're standing on. A challenge. If anyone wants to claim that what we have said here is not right, then let them have the courage to put it on the line directly up against us and the knowledge we are bringing. And it will become even more clear that what we say is the truth, a powerful truth that people need to know about and take up. So we want to provoke that. And right now, we are really, really directly calling on you. Everybody watching. If everybody watching right now gave $10 more, we would meet our goal. Right now, if every single one of you gave $10, we would be over our goal. I know that some of you can give a lot more than that, and some of you probably can't give that right now. So those of you who can, let's see it happen. Let's make it happen. But I think almost everybody can give $10 here. So we have a couple comments I want to read. Oh, yeah. These are good comments. So one person said, Don't forget to mention the recent state of emergency video, full of truth and calling out the times we are living in. We might actually play that in just a moment. It's very powerful, and I'm glad you brought that up. And for people who don't know, this is a new piece from Bob Avakian, State of Emergency, Chains on People Who Desperately Need to Be Free. It was illustrated beautifully by the RNL, Revolution Nothing Less team, who's also in studio making this happen. We love you. We thank you. So we might play that in a moment. It's also available at revcom.us. And we also got a comment from somebody who says, I'm a United States Army veteran that was assaulted by a Trump supporter for taking down Confederate flags off Trump's stand and was charged for defending himself. See, this is the kind of thing that is going on right now. It's completely illegitimate. But these are the kinds of things that will make people, including people in uniform or veterans, question what it is that they were fighting for and whether their allegiance should still be to that or to this new constitution and socialist republic and the revolution to make that real. This needs to happen on a mass scale.
So we were sort of stuck here at almost $9,000. So
we got to get over the 9,000, over the 10,000.
I do want to remind people of the woman in Columbia, Tennessee, a small town surrounded by good old boys, MAGA fascists, who rushed over to us and just gave us a wad of bills out of her pocket, adding up to $100. If we could get 10 people, 11 people to go over 10,000, if we could get 11 people to match her $100 donation, let's try to get 11 new donors. I know there's people who are watching this who've donated already. We really appreciate you. If you can dig deeper and donate more, that's great. But if you're like lurking on this and watching it and kind of weighing, should I donate or should I not donate? What are you waiting for? This is a time, a moment in history where huge things are up in the world. Literally shaping the future of humanity, with this climate crisis, the danger of world war, the fascists on the march, getting ready to seize power in 2024. They're murdering people in the streets. They're assaulting this veteran in our comments right now just for taking down Confederate flags. Come on, Confederate flags are just an open symbol of fucking pro-slavery. I mean, how is it that in America in 2023, people are still flying the Confederate flags, I mean, more people.
Do you want that future?
Yeah.
Because that's actually where things are.
And these fucking fascists were on their, were flying the Confederate flags right past us, right into the Jason Aldean concert. And up until recently, Jason Aldean used to perform with the Confederate flag. This is who these Nazis are. These MAGA fascists are. They're fucking Nazis. And as Bob Avakian said, there's a direct line from the Confederacy to the fascists of today. Do you want their future? This is what it comes down to. Do you want their future? Things are going in a terrible direction, and most people are sleepwalking. The Revcoms are not, No one stood up to Jason Aldean and this lynch mob anthem, fascist anthem, until we did. A few people said, oh, this is racist. No one stood up to it, though. We did. And we're calling for revolution, which is the only rational answer to these huge, problems facing humanity. It's not that complicated. All this shit that's going on, the fucking vicious sweatshop exploitation of people all over the world, the climate destruction, the murdering police. What are they enforcing? Why is all this shit happening? They're enforcing a system of capitalism-imperialism, which has to exploit people, which has to maintain that order. Let's make a revolution to get rid of that system, and all you can be part of it right now. And this is the moment to do it.
All right, we're getting closer. Somebody gave, or some combination of people gave almost $200. We're getting much closer. We have about $800 to go. We need that now. I want to echo Rafael. If you haven't given yet, if you're like the ER doctor, this is your first time donating to this revolution, or maybe even your first time learning about this revolution, don't sit back and say, well, I could have helped fuel the emancipation of humanity. I could have helped break the cloud. Forget about cloud, the blanket of enforced ignorance about this revolution that is put on people who need this revolution by the system and its mouthpieces and all its brainwash. I could have helped break this revolution out to those who need it most, but I decided I'd hold on to my money. I want to get an extra slice of pizza. Or I want to pay for an extra game app on my phone with no ads. Oh, it's so nice to do it at night. Or I, decided I wanted to go out and catch an extra movie with my friends. Let's call bullshit on bullshit, okay? There's a lot of you out there who you're just not sure if this revolution is real. Is it worth putting your money into it? And I will tell you, it's real if we fight for it. There is nothing more real. There is nothing more real than Bob Avakian and the science that he brings and the commitment he has shown over a lifetime and what he has revealed about what's actually possible. And if you haven't deeply engaged these interviews and his work, then you have no idea what's possible. You have no basis to evaluate that this revolution is not real. You have to go deeply into it, and you have to right now put some money into making sure that other people learn about it. And you have to fund those who are putting their lives to spreading this. There are people who are part of the Revolution Tour who have come to Los Angeles, who are, we came here a few years ago. Yes, we've stayed longer than we intended because it's taken longer to put this on the map and to break it out, and we're fighting. But people are putting themselves to this. We pay for this studio. We pay to put people on the road. We pay to print the posters. This cannot be a small bore operation. It needs your funds. If you've never given to this before, you should give to this today. Give the $70 that people throw away and use for bad purposes to go to see Jason fucking Aldean. That's the cheapest concert ticket. Pay for the cost of a plane ticket to send Chantel or Rafael out to be on the front lines there. The gas money it took for them to drive through the night with Leo and Lapis and others to burn the flag in front of the Tennessee courthouse where the lynching happened and Aldean chose for his filming. Give money to pay for the printing. It makes a difference to have the revolution up on the walls. It makes a difference. If people don't see it, they don't know about it. And they're kept in the fucking dark at a moment when everything is on the line and the future is on the line. That is not something we can afford. That is not something we can afford. You think you can't afford to give? You cannot afford to let this revolution remain a secret. You cannot afford to let this revolution remain underfunded. You cannot afford to not fight to spread this to others and make them watch it, even if they say that's not what I'm into. Of course they're not into it. Of course they're not into it. Most people have no idea that it's possible. And they won't if we don't spread it, if you don't donate, if you don't go fight with your friends to get into this. We are now at $9,384. We have gotten really close to our goal. We have about $616 to go. That's not that much. I know it's a lot of money for some people, but it's not that much for all of us watching together. And we should put it in, and we should donate, and we should take this over the top. What I want to do is I want to play the piece that somebody in the comments requested. And we will announce, hey, this person's full of very helpful suggestions. Don't forget to mention Raymond Lotta's talk at Revolution Books on Tuesday night. We will come back to that. It's very important. And the Raymond Lotta Tour, it's part of what we're raising money for, this whole revolution. So we'll come to that. But we want to play right now State of Emergency from Bob Avakian. It gives you a sense of this leader, gives you a sense of the moment, and it gives you a sense of the power of the message that we have to get out in a big way right now. So as you listen, make your donation. Let's get to this $10,000 goal together.
State of emergency. Chains on people who desperately need to be free. A message from Bob Avakian, revolutionary leader, author and architect of a whole new framework for human emancipation, the new communism. State of emergency. State of emergency. Masses of people are demoralized and disoriented, robbed of real hope, chasing after deadly illusions, desperately clinging to things that are not real, indulging in trivial pursuits while stubbornly refusing to face the biggest reality, striving to turn degradation into capital, bitterly divided and beefing over bullshit, trying to make a mark by mocking and even murdering each other. Chain, chain, chain. Chain of foolishness. Today, so many are caught up in the 3M and P. What is the 3M and P? Me, me, me. Money, money, money. Misogyny and patriarchy. All ways of thinking and acting that reflect and reinforce this system of capitalism-imperialism that so viciously oppresses people here and all over the world. All constantly promoted and pumped out in the popular culture.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Including in hip-hop. How this came to dominate hip-hop, and how it has actually perverted this creative art form.
All I really wanna see is the I don't really need a D, I need the
Which could be and should be a powerful voice for liberation.
Fight the power. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now.
That is another story, which has everything to do with how things are ultimately controlled by the ruling powers that dominate overall in this sick system of capitalism-imperialism. These are real chains on people, especially those most terribly, murderously oppressed under this system. Misogyny, hating women, and subjecting them to degradation in countless ways. Patriarchy.
But females are barely sentient. Females don't have independent thought. They don't come up with anything. They're just empty vessels.
Relations in which men are regarded as superior to women and hold power over them, while LGBT people are treated as illegitimate and objects of hatred, abuse, and scorn. Then there is the BEB. What is BEB? Bourgeois electoral bullshit. The ridiculous idea that you change this system that viciously preys on you, and millions and billions of people like you in this country and all over the world, by voting for this group or that group of bourgeois capitalist vultures. And what is another big chain on people? Supposedly easing, but really perpetuating the pain of feeling hopeless and powerless to put an end to the suffering that so many are afflicted by today. Religion. What is religion? Organized promotion of the belief that things have been created and are controlled by one or another God, which in reality does not exist and has been invented by people, with so many taught to believe that if things are the way they are, it is the will of this supposed God.
You don't know what God is making while you're aching. You don't know what God is making while you're suffering. You can't always see what the Master is doing. Only when we look back, then we see that God had a plan.
As I have written before, while upholding people's right to religion and uniting with religious people who take positive stands in the fight against oppression, it is crucially important to consistently and resolutely struggle for a scientific, not a religious, method and approach to reality, and wage a fierce, relentless fight against anti-scientific poison spread among the masses of people in the name of religion. Learn to live in chains. Bow down to those enforcing the chains. Boast about and sing praises to the chains. Or break all the chains. That is the choice. I know some people don't like it when I say all this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because as a revolutionary dedicated to the emancipation of humanity from every chain that holds people down, I recognize the responsibility to tell people the truth, even if it offends some at first. And all you who also know this is true, you need to say it too. Say it loud. It is time, and long past time, to break these mental chains, to get in position to break all the chains of the modern-day slavery of this system of capitalism-imperialism. It is time to take up the scientific outlook, method, strategy and program, morality and values that can lead people to finally get free, the new communism. It is time to become revolutionary emancipators of humanity. Hard truth, liberating truth.
All right, chains on people who desperately need to be free. That was a piece from Bob Avakian. It was illustrated and by the Revolution Nothing Less crew here in studio. Or they are in studio. They didn't do it in this studio, actually. They did it in the other editing room. But that's part of what your funds go to in donating. We are so close to our $10,000 goal in this fundraising live stream to put... Oh, there we go. See, that made us happy. I was so unrudely interrupted by the donation going up. Thank you so much. We are now over our goal, but we have just a quick message before we send you off. It's everybody who donated. We are sending you so much love. We want to give you so much applause and appreciation, but not just personal appreciation, but appreciation, on behalf of the humanity that needs a different future, that is groaning under the weight of this fucking nightmare of a system, capitalism, imperialism. And I know we just went live on TikTok. We just at the tail end of our fundraiser, $10,000 fundraiser to put real revolution on the map with the Revcoms. But for those just tuning in, and for those of you who've been with us for the whole arc of this, we just went over our goal for today. But the $10,000 goal today was really just a small portion of what it costs to maintain the ongoing work as it currently exists of the Revcoms working for this revolution. And we need to massively expand our ongoing donor base, our ongoing fund base, because this revolution needs to break out now to the millions who hate the world the way it is, who hate the rising fascism, who are sickened by the Jason Aldean fascist anthem, try that in a small town, who are horrified when Trump gets indicted once, twice, and then 3 times, and the fascists respond by saying, Carrie Lake and others, there's 75 million of us who are armed to the teeth and members of the NRA, and if you want to come for Trump, you're going to have to come through us. These people preparing for a fascist civil war, or through other means seizing power and restructuring society through the 2024 elections, if not sooner. They've already captured the Supreme Court. They already took away women's right to abortion. They have a genocidal assault on LGBTQ people and their rights. They have white supremacy that has always been at the foundation of this society and system in America, welling back up. It was beaten back for a little while to a degree, and it's welling back up. All of this nightmare as the planet is being destroyed by capitalism, imperialism, as the Democrats have no answer in the interests of humanity to these fascists, and themselves, Biden and the rest, are pushing us ever closer to nuclear confrontation with Russia and possibly China. At this moment, with the future in the balance, there is an unprecedented moment where the ripping up of the norms and the fight among the rulers and down through society means that a revolution could get on the map and could be wrenched. Even from a country as powerful as this. But that is a shot we have to fight for. And we have to go out and we need to raise much more money to put this revolution on the map. There's one poster I haven't shown yet. One among many we're spreading everywhere. We need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system that lifts people's sights to what is possible, to a whole different way we could be living. This needs to be everywhere. The Bob Avakian interviews need to be everywhere. The Revcoms and a mass fight to defend the rights of the people while building up the strength to make, and the organization to make a revolution needs to be everywhere. The challenge to break your allegiance with this fucking rotten capitalism-imperialism and its system, its constitution, its blood-soaked flag, that challenge needs to be everywhere. And the challenge to take up the allegiance to the new socialist republic and the revolution to make that real and make your life count for something, that needs to go out everywhere, and especially to the youth who have no future under this system, who are caught up in the hell this system brings. We need to spread this. So we're calling on you to keep donating, to become sustainers, regular sustainers, $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month. If you can give $1,000 a month, there's nothing more important you could put your money to. And then go to others. Fight for them to get with this revolution, to get out of the bullshit that everybody's caught up in bullshit in this society. It's pumped at them. And the scarier things get, the more people are retreating into their me, and they're hiding from reality. They don't know, and they need to know that there's something to get with that can change all of this. So fight for them to learn about the revolution, to watch the Bob Avakian interviews, and to themselves donate. And then join in spreading this everywhere. So write to us. Let us know what you learned today, what your questions are, why you donated. If you didn't, what's holding you back, put it in the chat. Write to us at therevcoms@gmail.com. Tune in every week, subscribe, and spread the Revolution Nothing Less show. We have a big mission that we have to now catapult off today's successful fundraiser to achieve much more.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end, Sansara. I wanted to thank everyone who donated, and I wanted to announce also that the beautiful painting, if you could put that on the screen one more time, the beautiful painting from a member of the Chicago Revolution Club did of the, courageous action out in front of Jason Aldean's fascist shit show of a concert in Tinley Park, Chicago, where Leo burned the American flag. That was bought by someone for $500. So, thank you to that person who bought that beautiful painting. And I also want to say this kind of thing, take your skill. If you're an artist, take your skills and use it to develop art and sell your art as a benefit for the revolution. If you know how to cook, if you know how to barbecue, go out on the streets, grill some food up, sell it in the community, and donate that money to the revolution. If you know how to sew and to stitch and crochet and all that, make some clothes for the revolution. This is the kind. We need a whole movement of people, contributing their skills and supporting these frontline Revcom fighters and emancipators of humanity. And I thought this comment from our veteran friend, I will take it to a small town any day, anytime. That's a great spirit. We need that kind of bravery and courage in the revolution. And everyone who feels that way, I want to encourage you, get deeper into this revolution. Watch these Bob Avakian interviews, learn more about it. And then the question is, who's going to have the back of these brave, freedom fighters fighting for revolution? We need a whole lot of people. We need millions of people supporting them and creating networks of support through fundraising is one of the key ways,
fundraising, a donor base, a broad donor base is an organized support structure for the movement for revolution. And it's spreading it. And that when you ask people to donate and you get them to sustain, that's what you're building, the strength of the revolution. And it makes all the difference in this period. I have one last comment we got from Hawaii. It says, hundreds of thousands are righteously marching to save the planet today. Cheers to the Revcoms for bringing revolution, the only way we can save the planet, into the mix. Capitalism-imperialism is destroying the planet. Only a real revolution can save it. That is true. So with that, we want to thank you for tuning in. Get involved. Throw in with all you have. And we have a planet and a future to win. So we'll see you Thursday on the Revolution Nothing Less show.
All right. Thanks.